Hi, my name is Cassia, and this is a story about how hearing and obeying the voice of God can change the world. So our team was in Singida, and we were getting ready to go speak to a secondary school. And this was a public secondary school, and most of the children were actually Muslim. So we were prepping the night before, and Joseph encouraged us to get words for the kids because we were actually going to do a teaching on hearing God's voice. So we split up into our groups, and I asked the Lord, okay, Lord, what should I say? Or do you have anything you want to say to any of these kids, or maybe to the school as a whole? And a name popped into mind, and it was a very American-sounding name. And it was a name that I'd never heard before in any of the villages or schools we had gone to previously. So I wrote it in my journal, and then I wrote down the word associated with the name with a bunch of question marks because I was still, battling the am I really hearing God's voice thing. And he also gave me a picture of a checkered, red and black checkered something. In that moment, it was a shirt, but I was like, okay, Lord, I want to be flexible, so I'm going to just go into the school and be obedient. So we go to this school. Our translator introduces us and asks if there's anyone in the crowd named Leah, which is the name that I got. And at first, no one came forward, and there's a lot of awkward silence and giggles. And then finally, I just see the kids pushing someone from the back, dragging, pushing, and this girl gets pushed up to the front in the empty space, and she says, "My name's Leah," and I was like, no way. So I pulled her up front and I gave her the word, and it was about being joyful and how she's the joy of her family and how the Lord sees her and is so proud of her, and even though things are hard in her family and in her life now, her calling is to be a magnet of joy for the people around her. And she started crying, and it totally resonated with her, which was really cool. And then I looked in the crowd and I saw another girl with a black and red checkered handkerchief on her head. And I was like, Lord, is that the girl that you're asking me to speak to? And I felt very certain that it was. So I pulled her forward and gave her the word, and it also resonated with her, which is really cool. And then everyone was kind of freaked out a little bit of whoa, how did this girl from America know one of our students? So afterwards, the headmistress pulled me aside and asked me to pray for her, which was actually a really cool opportunity to be able to pray with administration of the school. Some other students gave words to the kids, and then we gave the teaching on hearing God's voice and asked the students if they wanted to be able to hear the Lord's voice. And then we did some practical things, and several of them actually heard God speak to them, which was really awesome. And it was the first time they'd ever encountered the Lord like that. And then we did an altar call, and we saw over 80 salvations at that secondary school. So it was a really incredible day of ministry, and it's really cool that the Lord was able to use me, a person from America, to speak to children all the way across the world about his character and nature, and that through my obedience, 80 Muslim children came to know the Lord and have real relationship with him.